In the heart of a fragile peace, 2 lost lives are finally returned, but the shadow of conflict looms larger than ever. Imagine the heartbreak of families waiting for answers amidst a war that has torn apart countless lives. That's the raw reality here, as Israel announces the identification of 2 more hostages remains, handed over by Hamas to the Red Cross just the night before. This development comes as Palestinian leaders signal the start of talks for the next stage of ceasefire negotiations, aiming to build on the truce that paused 2 grueling years of fighting since October 10th. It's a moment of cautious hope, but one fraught with tension and unanswered questions. The bodies have been confirmed as those of Ronen Engel, a devoted father of 3 from Kibbutz Nir Oz, and Sonthaya Oakkharasri, a Thai worker in agriculture who tragically met his end at Kibbutz Be'eri. Both are believed to have perished in the horrific October 7 attack, with their remains taken into Gaza. Engel's wife, Karina, and 2 of their children were among those kidnapped during that assault, though they were thankfully released during a previous ceasefire in November 2023. This handover is part of Hamas's commitments under the truce, which also include allowing aid into Gaza and discussing future governance for the battered territory. But here's where it gets controversial. Israel isn't budging on reopening the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt, declaring it closed until further notice. This vital gateway, the only one not under Israeli control before the war, has been shut since May 2024, when Israel seized the Gaza side. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office insists that reopening hinges on Hamas fully delivering the remains of all 28 deceased hostages. Yet so far, 13 bodies have been returned, with 12 identified as hostages. One turned out not to be a hostage at all, sparking questions about the accuracy and sincerity of these exchanges. For context, a reopened Rafah crossing would be a lifeline for Palestinians, easing access to medical care, family visits, or travel to Egypt, where many have ties or reside. On Sunday, the Palestinian Authority's Interior Ministry in Ramallah laid out new procedures. Palestinians exiting Gaza can get temporary travel documents from embassy staff in Cairo, while those entering need to apply for permits at the same embassy. It's a step toward normalcy, but only if the crossing fully opens. A war's toll is staggering, with Gaza's health ministry, run by Hamas, reporting over 68,000 Palestinian deaths. The United Nations and numerous experts view these figures as credible, though Israel challenges them without offering alternative numbers. And don't forget the thousands still missing, as noted by the Red Cross. On the other side, Hamas militants' October 7th attack claimed about 1,200 lives, predominantly civilians, and led to the abduction of 251 people, igniting the conflict. And this is the part most people miss. As ceasefire talks heat up, the sides are trading barbs. Israel accused Hamas of firing at troops in Rafah within Israeli-controlled zones, though no one was hurt. Hamas, in turn, points fingers back at Israel for breaches of the delicate truce. Meanwhile, Hamas confirms that discussions for the second phase, proposed by U.S. President Donald Trump, are underway. This phase calls for Hamas's disarmament and the creation of an international authority to govern Gaza. Hamas spokesman Hassam Qasem emphasized the need for a national consensus and stated that Hamas won't participate in post-war ruling, leaving day-to-day operations to existing government bodies to prevent a void. He advocated for a quick formation of a community support committee, comprising Palestinian experts, to handle affairs until a broader agreement is reached. It's an attempt to maintain stability, but it raises eyebrows. Who truly calls the shots in Gaza right now? Things get even thornier with accusations flying. Hamas rejected U.S. State Department claims of an imminent attack by the group on Gaza residents, calling it false allegations. The U.S. warned that such an attack would violate the ceasefire and jeopardize mediation progress. Hamas countered by accusing Israel of backing armed groups in Israeli-held areas, urging Washington to pressure Israel to stop harboring these gangs. In a shocking turn, Hamas fighters clashed with at least 2 such groups in eastern Gaza City, executing suspects publicly for alleged looting and collaboration with Israel. These street killings drew widespread condemnation, highlighting the chaos in areas vacated by Israeli forces post-ceasefire. The Hamas-run Interior Ministry claims its efforts are aimed at restoring order, but critics argue this shows Hamas reclaiming control in ways that could prolong instability. For beginners diving into this, think of it like a tense standoff where trust is paper-thin. Each side blames the other, and international players like the U.S. try to mediate. But underlying disputes over power, disarmament, and governance keep the peace precarious. To expand a bit, picture the Rafah crossing as a bustling bridge of hope for Palestinians. Families reuniting, patients getting life-saving treatments, or workers seeking opportunities in Egypt. Without it, Gaza feels even more isolated, a pressure cooker for humanitarian crises. And controversies abound. Is Israel's death toll dispute a refusal to acknowledge civilian suffering, or a necessary pushback against potentially inflated figures? Hamas's executions, while framed as justice, sparked debates on vigilante law in war zones. Plus, the U.S. plan for Gaza's future governance pits ideals of international oversight against fears of neocolonialism or ineffectual bureaucracy. What do you think? Is Hamas's refusal to join a ruling authority a genuine step toward peace or a strategic holdout to retain influence? Should the U.S. be more forceful in pressuring Israel on the Rafah crossing? And does the rising violence between armed groups signal the end of the ceasefire before it truly begins? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you side with one perspective or see shades of gray in this complex conflict? Let's discuss.